1998 was a good year. Andretti, Franchitti, Zanardi, Greg Moore, Reynard, Lola, Swift, Mercedes, Toyota, Ford, and Honda. 1998 was perhaps the very height of the kart era for North American open-wheeled racing. Even in the shadow of the disastrous split, kart shined through with its names, teams, manufacturers, and venues. Even without the center jewel of its crown, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, many would call late 90s kart the best there ever was. And it's not hard to see why. 900 horsepower with minimal electronic aids, a traditional sequential shifter, no flappy paddles, DRS, fan boost, or push to pass. The circuits were unrefined, raw, and authentic. The mix of road, street, high speed, and short ovals was balanced. There was a little something for everyone, and the one who could master it all was a true champion. And so Reiza have made many, including my own dreams, come true. With Part 2 of their North America add-on, they've sworn to introduce late 90s kart racing into Automobilista 2. They've started first with the 1998 season and the Grand Prix of Cleveland. Cleveland is the fondly remembered airport circuit, raced from 1982 through 2007, the scene of many an epic battle. Its ultra-wide surface and famous Turn 1 hairpin provided some of the best road course racing around. Check out the 95 IndyCar race if you want to see what it's all about. This add-on part arrived as part 1 of the second part of the parts of the North American DLC. It's confusing and not doing itself favors with the convoluted release, but it's clear Reiza is putting a little bit more into this one. And it may be the reason for many to invest in the sim, which has divided sim racing users for the past couple of years. What's eventually coming in total are 3 years of kart IndyCars, with 1995, 98, and 2000 promised, multiple chassis and engine combinations for each year, a new selection of North American tracks, and highly anticipated oval racing. It's an interesting selection of years, but maybe not exactly what I would have chosen. I'm excited for 1995 since it was the last year before the split, but having 95, 98, and 2000 together, I don't think they're going to offer too drastically different a driving experience. Would have been nice to see a 70s, 80s, and 90s set to make up the 3 American retro groups, but regardless, with these years, you'll be able to race the late 90s fairly accurately, and I'm sure the community will get to work making skins to fill in the gaps. The cars come with generic liveries by default, but Reiza have finally enabled the ability to create custom driver rosters and performances, and user Chrissy2174 over at Race Department has already been hard at work painting the real cars from 1998 to replace the fictional liveries. At the time of this recording, only about half the grid is complete, but in the coming days, I'm sure the rest will be filled in, and even in its current form, it adds quite a bit to the experience. So left with somewhat of a preview for this first part, but it's more than enough to whet our appetites. The 1998 season, for all the reasons mentioned earlier, is a perfect one to race, and for good reason, has been the subject of many third-party mods over the years. Many remember fondly IndyCar Racing 2, but I'd wager that the Kart Factor mods released for F1 Challenge and R Factor, along with VRC's excellent rendition for Assetto Corsa, have been in constant rotation for many North American racing fans. I don't consider myself a sim racing news guy, but when the news deals with some of my favorite racing, I just have to chime in. But the best way to explain is of course to race. So let's line up for 12 laps around Cleveland, driving the gorgeous Target Chip Ganassi Reynard Honda, and see how the pinnacle of North American open-wheel racing was in the late 90s. Alright, roll onto the front straightaway. One minor gripe is you can't control your own car until the green comes out, but green's out, we're underway. Come down to the first hairpin, brake plenty early here in the opening lap, down to first. So everybody stack up, see if I can get around the outside. Almost making contact there, but we'll get onto the back straightaway now and fly onto one of the runways, quite literally. We'll come down to another chicane, get up the inside, second gear, side by side. It's tight through here. Just saw the wheel just for a second, but able to get around. Dive up the inside again. Almost lose the front end. Back up, head through double right-handers. overall, the bumps, it's one of the first things I noticed racing at this version of Cleveland versus any other version I've ever raced, is just how bumpy it is. And it adds so much to the circuit. Come to the final chicane, so everybody stacks up in front. We get all the way down to first gear on the opening lap. But there we go, come to the line. So I'll have a nice run up the inside into T1. Try not to outbrake ourselves. It's gonna be really tight on the inside. Cut the dirt just a little bit. Almost surprised not to get a penalty for that, but we'll slide in behind one of the Newman Haas cars here. That's, of course, part of the skin pack. Oh, this will run really wide there. Part of the add-on skin pack to get rid of some of the fictional liveries. Can't wait till the whole grid's done, and it's really early days for it anyway. The added options to add custom AI is such a nice quality of life thing for this sim. I think it's going to add a lot of depth to be able to have custom rosters, and especially once the other IndyCar seasons come out, I can imagine having cars from 95 through 2000. Being able to race all those championships will be a lot of fun. We'll come to the chicane again. Whoa, these guys in front, taking some of the grass there. I'm running on 100% AI speed, which you can actually go a little higher. So we'll really take an opportunistic move. Oh, slide in. There we go. Go higher with the difficulty settings. Try to make a pass here. We'll slide through the grass. Not quite as smooth as I'd want to be. Run it out right to the wall. In the slipstream, should get a nice run coming up to the final chicane. Difficult place to make a move, but just throw it in. We got some smoke in front as well. Oh, as I almost lose the car through there. All right, so making a few passes. One thing I've turned down quite a lot, which you almost wouldn't believe it, but the aggression settings. I talked about this pretty recently in a sports car video I made, but I've had on 5% aggression. And I've just found that the AI like to take pretty optimistic moves. We'll do a lot of dive bombing and things with it set much higher. So setting the aggression ultra low gets them to race at least somewhat realistically, like you're seeing here. A little too fast in some corners and a little too slow in others, but compared to some of the other things that are out there, I always liked the AMS2 AI overall, so I'm excited to see what Reiza can do on the oval circuits. We'll get up the gears down to the final chicane. Seems like everything's all cleaned up down here. I've got pretty much the stock set up on a little more front wing. The cars understeer quite a bit by default. I think that's somewhat on purpose, just to make them easier to handle. You can kick the rear end out like that. I've seen some comments out there just about how easy these are to drive, and I think I made my own comment actually, that they seemed a little easy to drive. Once I got a little more front wing in it, it's come alive a bit, and I think it's awesome. I'll be 100% honest. I don't see too much wrong with what's going on here. It's a pretty believable driving experience, and man, to have something official for once is a lot of fun. Although racing, the VRC car or the old Kart Factor mods are a lot of fun, this feels a little bit more like a complete package already. And as soon as they add in some of the other seasons and the oval racing, it's really, I could see this being a sim that I spend a lot of time in. A video quite a a while back racing the Lotus 72 at Long Beach. And in that video, I think I talk about how some of the handling characteristics and things feel better than they used to. But there's been just a couple updates recently, most recently with this release in the 1.3 patch, that have just made a world of difference in how everything feels in AMS2. And if you haven't tried this sim in a while, I really do recommend giving it a try. I haven't gone back to try all of the older cars yet, but on the cars that I have tried, it feels like a totally different sim. No longer at all has that feeling that you're not actually stuck to the road or that you're not controlling the car. Oh, I try not to I'll break myself too much there again. Watch the wheel spin here. Oh, just always kicking the rear end out, following one of the cool Team Green cars. It's probably Paul Tracy. See if we can get up to him here. Should have a little bit of slipstream. The straightaways are quite long around this track. Those will be a little too aggressive on the cut there. Over some of the bumps. The other circuit that came out with this update was Watkins Glen, of course, and not a track that IndyCar raced at in this era. A great track to race IndyCars around in general, but I think obviously fits as we'll take a move up the inside of Paul Tracy here. See if he gives me a little space. Try to get back on the throttle. No. Maybe got to take that outside line. That's really where he'll push you wide. In the AI settings that come with this skin pack, some of the drivers are more aggressive than others, so I imagine Paul's got that aggression setting raised quite a bit. It's those little details that are going to make this absolutely awesome. Hopefully they get the helmets and suits painted and everything as well. Oh, so mess up a couple corners there. So easy to lose quite a lot of time if you just run a little bit wide or a little too deep into a corner. Yeah, but Watkins Glen is released. It's going to fit the sports car stuff that Automobilista 2 already has quite well, but still a fun track to throw these around on. And I'm really happy they went with Cleveland as the initial track, because I know this is not a circuit that would be high up on many's list outside of the folks that really love kart racing. If you like IndyCar, of course this is a track you want, but for everybody else that is maybe a little younger or didn't watch IndyCars in the 80s and 90s, you might be saying, what is Cleveland? And it's an awesome track. So try to hit some apexes here. It did hold some sports car racing, and it even held an IROC race, amongst a few other things, but most famous, obviously, for the IndyCar racing, and such a unique venue. Adds just that spice of variety that's always fun. Decent run through the final chicane. Staring at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just ahead. Just controlling that understeer, or oversteer rather, coming out of the hairpin. Yeah, I don't know what it is about these cars, but it's just how raw they are and high-powered. Makes them so much fun to drive. You know, all you have to do is concentrate on the driving when you drive these. So take a cut there. And I really hope they can pull off the oval racing well. There is already kind of an oval in AMS2 with Rio, the trapezoid-shaped oval that I did a video actually in IndyCar 2 on, and I thought of doing a video here, but maybe we'll save that for another day. But to get them racing well around a high-speed oval, I really hope they add Fontana or Michigan or something similar. We'll see if we can take a move on Tracy here. Take a little bit wider of an apex. Oh, we clink wheels. There we go. You wouldn't have liked that, but just a couple laps. I got to run away from him now. Chasing a Team Penske car. We're gonna miss the apex there. No. Oh, here comes Tracy around the outside, side by side again. Oh, he's gonna cut me off in front. Just gets back around. We're just gonna have one lap to do it. I'm pretty far back here, coming up to the final chicane. Oh, we'll take a lot of the grass there. Might have even clipped that inside wall, which is no good. Get it down to first gear, lock up the inside tire just a little bit, short shift into second. See if that was gonna be better, but might have slowed me down even. Hit this apex, but it's going to be a little too late. Some speed here through the final couple of corners. This is where the AI seem to be just a little bit faster. Oh, we're gonna understeer right up to the wall. No. So pushing too much and not gonna be able to get Tracy here, but man, flat out run for 12 laps around this track. Just 12 laps, just tiring enough. Never mind doing a full race here, but what a great experience. So I made a video back in July, just about 6 months ago, talking about IndyCar's final game, IndyCar Series 2005 by Codemasters. That was the last official game that IndyCar had released, and I talked in that video about how awesome it would be if IndyCar made some new games. And although Automobilista 2 is not an officially licensed, full-on IndyCar game, it very well could do, or it could become the classic kart racing, IndyCar racing simulator that I think would fit it so well. Overall, I really recommend it if you're into these type of cars, or even if you're not. Maybe you've tried Automobilista 2 a while back and didn't quite find it to your liking. I think a lot of the issues folks had with it have been remedied, or at least remedied enough to the point where you can have fun with it. I definitely found AMS2 in the past to be frustrating sometimes to drive, where the car didn't feel like you were actually in control of it, or that it was on rails, or that you weren't quite connecting with the asphalt. All of that's gone. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It doesn't feel quite as good as, say, R-Factor 2 does to me, but no other sims feel that good, and I have just as much fun racing in this as I do Assetto Corsa or Dirt Rally 2, or name any of your other sims. The handling feels great, the cars are heavy and fun to slide around the track. I'm excited to dig in and do some longer races with them. I've experimented a little bit, like I said, when I was driving, racing around Rio, the trapezoid oval. I want to maybe make a video on that at some point if folks are interested. I don't know if the oval racing's quite been tweaked yet, and it seems like there might be a couple issues with AI when they go to make pit stops and things, but it would be fun to make some longer races and see how things in a not so hectic race could actually be. So out of what they've announced, the 1995 set is definitely the one I'm looking forward to the most. Be able to truly relive the IndyCar racing 2 days, and excited to see what other circuits come out for it. They have announced that the next track that will be out will be Road America, which is perfect for these cars, all of the different seasons. It's one of the other classic standby kart circuits of the era. And I have no idea when Part 3 might be coming, or if Part 3 is actually what's going to be containing oval racing, but based on what I've seen so far, I'm actually pretty optimistic about how that's going to be. I think doing oval racing requires specific attention to do that. You can't just have a circuit that you make into a circle and say, all right, we have oval racing. You need some different rules and AI algorithms, or how they process events and things to be trained differently and actually do that. Never mind, the cars themselves need to be different. Cars, especially in the high-speed ovals, were very different aero configurations and even engine configurations than they were on the road circuit. So some proper attention to detail could really make something like that shine. And if you've never done a high-speed oval race in an IndyCar, I think if that does come here, I would recommend giving it a try. If they pull it off, it'll be something like you've never experienced before. There's a few very minor details I mentioned at the very start, but I'd love to be able to actually drive to the start instead of the AI drive under the caution or formation lap. But that's one little thing. The left mirror, you noticed it while I was driving. It's messed up on this car specifically. I'm not sure if it is on the Swift or the Lola, but you can't really see out of it. I'm sure they'll fix that pretty soon. Oddly enough, I've seen it in different angles from the screenshots leading up to the release of this. I thought it was much more of an issue, but maybe I'm just getting used to how these look. But the driver's head looks too small for some reason, which seems silly. Either that or the cockpit seems a little too big, but I've maybe not noticed anymore. I'm just having so much fun with it that I don't really care. That's such a minor issue, but and the AI are a little overly aggressive. 5% here was probably right. I was bouncing around with Paul Tracy a bit, which I guess you could expect to do, but I'm not sure why that's not the 50% setting. It doesn't seem like it'd be too useful to go much higher than I already have it set to here, but maybe others have found the magic sweet spot, and it could be related to the skin set that I'm using. So I don't know what else I could say that hasn't already been said by me or somebody else about this. I did want to take an extra couple of days to try it out and make sure I knew what my thoughts were before I made a video, and I definitely endorse this. It's not just my love for IndyCar. It genuinely feels good and fun to race. And if you have any passing interest in this at all, I think it's even worth getting AMS2. If they're going to continue to pump out some of this content, get the rest of the cars in there, a bunch more circuits, I could see this being a really popular reason to race in AMS2, and hopefully Reiza sees a benefit from it and keeps doing it. Would love if they put out something, from the early 90s or late 80s. In addition to this stuff, I think it could be really easy to add some more cars to the mix if this ends up being really popular, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. There hasn't been much official IndyCar or kart content, and now we've got AMS2 here. I haven't missed that iRacing has released AI for the IR18, which is practically now an IndyCar game that you could race offline. Maybe I'll take a look at that. And of course, we have Motorsports Games thing that's coming. We'll see how that all turns out. Fingers crossed for the best for that too, because I just want everything to be good. But we do have at least one good thing here with Reiza and their Formula America Retro Series, or whatever they're calling it. Go try it out if you like kart. I think you'll have a good time with this. There'll definitely be more from me coming soon. Let me know if there's any specific tracks and things that you'd want to see. Maybe I'll start doing a little series with it or something. But thanks for watching. If you made it through all this, go race some kart cars. I'm going to go back and do that now. I'm GP Laps, and I'll see you all again next time.